This is Houston Newsmakers with Khambrel Marshall.
With the new administration comes new hope. That may be especially true after more than 150 million people came out during a pandemic to vote. But what does it mean for the chances of meaningful legislation being passed? An appropriate question after impeachment of a soon-to-be former president set the stage for the new Congress. Joining me this morning to talk about that and much more, representing the 18th Congressional District, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Good morning, Congresswoman. Good to see you. Thank you for spending this time with me this morning. What do you say to those, like my guest last week, Congressman Brady, who said that impeachment is a waste of time?
Well, first of all, I'm delighted to be with you this morning and delighted to be with all of your viewers. I have a great deal of confidence in our new government. The spirit and passion and compassion of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is all about bringing the nation together, bringing Houston and Harris Countyans and Texans together. And frankly, I think everyone around the world looks to America as the citadel of democracy. And what they saw on January 6th appalled them. And frankly, I believe our standard of democracy also is a partner to accountability. As we see these videos more and more, of course, you know that I was in the chamber, in the gallery, heard the gunfire, saw armed plainclothesmen trying to protect the chamber, was stuck and could not get out, and had to hit the ground. And many members who were there to do their constitutional duties were so much intimidated by this attack on the Congress. There is no doubt that the individuals who provoked this, who told the big lie, who continue to tell the lie, have to be held accountable. Impeachment is the Congress' only way to be able to hold someone accountable that is served in office or is serving in office. This president deserves to be impeached, as he has already been, the only president in history to be impeached twice, and he needs to be convicted when the trial is held in the Senate. Sadly, however, there are those who spoke very fervently and very deeply the day of, such as Senator Lindsey Graham and others, who indicated enough is enough, who now have a whole different attitude. One would have to ask the question, where is their consistency in upholding the Constitution? So yes, I don't think it is a waste of time. I do think that we should spend our time unifying around issues that we can be unified around, and that is to pass a major, extensive COVID-19 package for the many suffering Houstonians and suffering people of Texas and the nation. That's what I'm going to be committed to as a newly appointed leadership appointee of the Budget Committee of the United States House of Representatives.
So President Biden didn't waste much time getting people in place to try to take on some of those challenges you talked about, ramping up efforts to make vaccine distribution more efficient, starting regular news conferences about government efforts, etc. You've been on the front lines in Houston. We've seen you there for a long time, helping to set up dozens of testing sites and vaccine opportunities. Based on what you're seeing now, what's working, what can be better, and what are you able to do to help smooth out this process now that this new administration is in place?
Well, thank you for that. And tomorrow, January 30th, I open my 52nd testing site. And I say to all of your viewers, if you have not yet gotten vaccinated, continue to get tested, particularly with the new South African variant that has come in. It is important to know whether you're asymptomatic or, in fact, to protect yourself by being tested against this new, more contagious variant of COVID-19. And I will continue to do so, working with our community, going into neighborhoods. But early on, as a senior member of Homeland Security, who really confronted these large domestic natural disasters, if you will, even international disasters, this pandemic, I recognized in the early part of February that this was going to be a mountainous challenge. So I introduced just recently HR 330, which is a COVID-19 Delivery Act. Here's what I think needs to be done. I applaud the local officials for working with the small measure of vaccinations, vaccines that they have gotten. I was actually at the Harris Health LBJ Hospital on the very first day of the receipt of such that came by a local private delivery truck. Good for them. We need a massive takeover by the federal government to massively vaccinate the American people. We need it to be done through the officers and the expertise of FEMA. FEMA has dealt with natural disasters for a very long time. Most people don't realize that FEMA was in New York after 9/11 and helped stand up Lower Manhattan. And so if FEMA was in charge, they're able to instruct other agencies to do things, as evidenced now by the administration looking at my legislation and now utilizing FEMA to open up 100 sites. And FEMA has just activated 10,000 National Guard. I think the National Guard, and I spoke to General Austin about this, and the United States military are well poised to help run sites in our rural and urban areas, in our neighborhoods, along with our local officials, and that we should enact the Defense Production Act to massively produce Pfizer and Moderna. We're waiting on Johnson & Johnson. It is not as efficient and protective as the two initial vaccines, but other vaccines are coming. And as they come online, then we should be able to do that. In addition, there should be a multi-billion-dollar, maybe multi-million-dollar, because someone will take that as a shocking number, to educate the American public, health professionals and others about getting vaccinated. In Los Angeles, 92% of the health professionals and first responders that died were people of color. We know that African Americans and Hispanics have gotten COVID-19 more often. They are sicker in the hospitals and they die more. And we know that it impacts people of all backgrounds, all economic backgrounds, all racial backgrounds. And so it is not a isolating COVID-19 pandemic, but we do need to hit hard-hit communities. We need to take it over by the federal government, and we need to get to doing this massive testing and neighborhood testing that we can do together. I think the president is up to the task. He's committed to the task. I will continue to work with them and push the protocols that I've offered, which include an app, a logistical protocol to know where all of the vaccines are being distributed, for the local governments to know when those distributions will come, for them to get a consistent distribution on the basis of their population, which is what makes sense, and not just waiting for a handout every single week, which is going on now through the state. They're handing out drips and drabs of vaccinations. They're disappointing people, and they're isolating communities by not doing what local governments want them to do. When the federal government comes in, they work with local governments, and that's what I think is crucial. I will be working to ensure this plan goes forward.
Congressman, the economy is also a big part of recovery moving forward. The president has a big package. Republicans have said, yeah, it's too big. We've seen tremendous pushback from state and Governor Abbott here, for example, saying that the decision to freeze the drilling permits is going to be a crippling effect on Texas energy. You know as well as a lot of people do how important that is to this community. What are you saying about that process, about the president's decision to freeze the drilling, and how are you in favor of that or against it?
Well, first of all, I want to say that we should go big. The many Federal Reserve chairpersons, the new Secretary of the Treasury indicates, Janet Yellen says, go big. We have suffered for almost a year. We need that $1,400. We need extended unemployment. We need PPP to stand up restaurants and stand up small businesses. We need people to get back to work. And so we need a big program. We need a massive vaccination program. We need to spend money on vaccines. We need to spend money on testing and the contact tracing. We need to spend money on getting our schools and daycares back open safely for our children and teachers. We need to test our first responders of all kinds, our teachers, essential workers. We need to go big, Khambrel. But as it relates to the heartbeat of this great state that has been an economic engine, President Biden is not finished yet. I am prepared and willing to work with the White House on how we deal with the moving forward of renewables and natural gas, and as well working with the transition and the hard work of workers in this state who deal with the fossil fuel and drilling and have made a living and survival on that. So Texans need to realize that this is not the final story, the final chapter. President Biden is a thoughtful leader. He wants to bring the country together. We need to be able to, and I've heard this from the industry here, they're willing to sit down and speak with the administration. I believe that that is going to happen. And we as members of Congress who are from Texas will be very much a part of promoting a new environment, if you will, a focus on renewables, but a recognition of the importance of the various industries in our community.
So you're not concerned about job losses as a result of that decision?
I don't believe this is a final decision, and I believe there's opportunities for the industry to be able to sit down with the Secretary of Energy and the White House leadership and members of Congress to ensure that we protect jobs.
All right. Thank you, Congresswoman. Hey, we've got more to talk about, including how the partisanship has deepened in Congress and some issues about safety we need to talk about. We'll talk about that after the break, if you will. Based on outside rhetoric and some of the actions of some of your congressional colleagues, it's a challenge going forward, I know. We'll talk about that right after the break.